to More Sewing with Michele. This week, I've got something great to share with you, and it's something that we are going to be able to use to create great gifts for our loved ones, our friends, and family. It's Embroider Buddy's Huggers. Isn't he cute, this little doggy? And he is so soft, you just want to hug him. We are going to be showcasing the Huggers from Embroider Buddy, and we've got 5 animals for you. We have a bear, we have a bunny, we have a sheep, we have the doggy here, and then we have a unicorn that's super cute. With this, I'm going to show you how you can take those animals and you can create custom personalizable gifts for your family, friends, loved ones. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to show you how not only can you do embroidery on them, but you can actually use fabric and customize these animals as well. So lots of options that I've got for you today, and I can't wait to show you. Let's get going. Okay, so the Embroider Buddies, these are called Huggers, as I stated before. And they are, I'm not kidding when I say this, super uber soft. They're super soft, the animals themselves, and they have Velcro arms here that you can undo, and then there's a blanket attached. I'm not going to unattach this one, but there's a blanket attached. I'll show you it on the other ones, and then you simply just Velcro the arms back up and they're good to go, which is why they're called Huggers. Look how cute they are. Now they're made for doing personalized gift with an embroidery machine, a machine that you can put, you know, pretty much so anything on it. You could add just an image, you can add a name, you can add a logo, you can pretty much so do anything when you have a machine embroidery. But that's what they're typically made for. But what I want to show you is some of the different ways that I have customized these. So this is with machine embroidery. You'll see this is the bear, and the bear, he's like a very soft gray color. He's got little brown pad accents, and let me show you the blanket. So I went ahead with the machine embroidery and I added this logo and the little initial, and these blankets are pretty big, so you can see how big they are, and it's right up there on the top. So that's one way that you can accent them. And once again, this is the little bear. Now these are perfect for just by themselves, but they're made to hug those blankets. Now on another one, let me show you the bunny. Now look how cute this bunny is. All white, he's got gray ears, and once again he hugs. He's got little pink accents on his ears. And if we take off his little arms, you'll see how big he is here. And on this one, look what I did. So I was trying to be conscious of people that maybe don't have a machine embroidery machine, and I had been guilty of this when I saw a different type of animal that was customizable before I had an embroidery machine. And, you know, I wanted to buy one of them and create something with it, but I didn't have a machine. So this way, I wanted to show you how if you don't have an embroidery machine, you can still take this, customize the blanket with fabrics, and look how stinking cute that is. So it's just cotton fabric, some of my quilting fabric, and I added a little border. It almost looks like a royalty blanket here. So one side is completely the blanket that comes with the bunny, and the other side has this adorable bunny fabric that matches the bunny. So isn't that sweet? So you don't have to have an embroidery machine to use these and customize and make a fun gift for someone. Now the last thing that I want to show you that I did, look how cute this unicorn is. She, excuse me, is stinking adorable. She is soft. She's more of a low pile animal. When we take off her little things, you can see. And then what I did on this one was I did applique. I added a strip of fabric there, and then look, I appliqued some stars and some hearts. Isn't that sweet? So you don't have to do just basic stuff. You can get a little bit creative. Really, your imagination is the only limitation on these little guys. They're a lot of fun, and like I said, you can do machine embroidery, you can do applique, you can do quilting, you can simply add some additional accent fabrics to it. Now let me show you one other animal that we have. This is the little lamb, super sweet, all white, and his little blanket is a light gray. So you'll see that he's still attached too, and that's the animals that we have for you today. So I wanted to show you them, and then I'm going to get into what we can do and how to go ahead and do some customization. I have tips and tricks that I'm going to show you as well. Okay, so I put the animals aside. They're going to take a little rest while I want to talk to you about how to go about customizing these wonderful huggers from Embroider Buddy. But before I go on any further, I want you to understand that anything that I showcase here on More Sewing with Michele, you're always able to go to moresew.com and you're able to purchase those items. So we do have all of these animals available on our website. You can also click on the link in the description and you'll be able to purchase the animals as well as stabilizers or anything else you need for this particular product. We also, if you just are falling in love with this machine embroidery, you can also purchase a machine. So Moore's is a one-stop shopping place, and we're here to help you through all aspects of sewing. So let's get back to these huggers. So as you can see on camera here, I have the little bear's blanket that I went ahead and I added some embroidery as well as a little monogram M there in the middle. And when you are doing machine embroidery, first off, you need to know your machine. And I'm not going to teach you how to embroidery, but I'm going to talk about my little tips as far as how to make this work and to be as pleasant as it can possibly be for you to create this custom thing. It's super fun. I'm telling you, machine embroidery is one of those things that you just fall in love with, and there's so many things you can do with it. This is just one. So when you are planning on your blanket for your hugger, where you're going to put your embroidery, you want to plan out where you're going to stitch it out ahead of time. It's never fun. Oh my gosh. Jack the Ripper is our friend, our seam ripper, but it's never fun to pull out and take out machine embroidery. So do take some time and plan exactly where you're going to want your image that you're going to put on these blankets. A monogram, you can put all of the baby stats, you can put a logo from a school. If someone's doing a graduation, you may want to add, you know, I'm not going to name certain schools, but whatever collegiate school there is, there's just so many things you can do with it. But the main idea is you're going to want to plan exactly where you're going to do it. Oftentimes, we will do machine embroidery in the corners of blankets, so you could do it just in the corner here. It's completely up to you. Keep in mind, though, these corners, they do have, you know, the blanket edge. So there's a little bit of a rolled corner here, so it's going to be a little bit thicker. But if you do an image here in the corner, you should be fine. It's easier probably to stitch out in the corner because of the hoop, and as you hoop your image, it's just easier to contain it in a corner than trying to make sure that it's centered in the top like I did. Now on mine, I simply found the center of my blanket and then I did it about 5 inches from the top edge, and that worked out pretty good. You can see there. These blankets are really big, so you have lots of options as far as where you're going to place it. One of the things that you may want to do is you may want to print out to that image that you're planning to embroider and then put it on top of your blanket and see that you like it. So it's completely up to you what you do and how you do it and what image you pick. So let's talk about the stabilizers that I use for this. Being that it is a blanket and there's some pile to it, I used a water-soluble stabilizer in the hoop. Floriani's Wet and Gone is perfect for this application. And on top of that, on top of the blanket, when it was in the hoop, I used another water soluble stabilizer, but it's actually a topper. So I use Floriani's water soluble topper on top. So on this particular project, I use the stabilizer in the hoop. I then I pinned my blanket to the stabilizer, making sure that it was nice and flush, and then I added the topper and pinned that down too. And that's how I went ahead and did this. Now, when you add a topper, you'll see that it almost allows the image of the embroidery to sink in, and you get that more puffy areas. So I always recommend when you're doing any embroidery on anything that has a high pile that you use a topper. So on towels, blankets, even if you have like a fuzzy jacket that you're doing, always use a topper with your embroidery. And I recommend doing a basting stitch. So once you get everything in your hoop and you're ready to go, most machines will have a basting stitch, which will help keep everything in place before you do your actual stitching. After you've stitched your design onto your blanket, I prefer to remove those basting stitches while it's still in the hoop. Everything is nice and taut then, and it's just easier to take out those stitches with Jack the Ripper while everything's in the hoop, as opposed to taking it out of the hoop and then everything's more pliable. It just makes it easier. So that's just another little tip that I have. And then you're going to want to remove the extra stabilizer from the back side of the blanket as well as the front. Now keep in mind I said that you're going to use a topper on the front. So on the front here, you'll see in between where the designs are, there's going to be that plastic topper, and you can use your fingers to kind of pull that up, and you're going to want to pull away all of that topper from the top. It just distracts from the beauty of the image that you've just stitched. So just take a couple minutes and make sure you get all the little pieces of the topper, as well as on the back. You're going to want to make sure that you get all the extra stabilizer. Now, being that they're water soluble, if there's just a little piece that you just can't get out, and I don't prefer on blankets to pre-wash them before I give them as a gift. So I like them to be fluffy and just the way they are. So what you can do is take a little cotton ball, get it a little bit saturated, and you can apply that to where that topper is still sitting, and that should help dissolve it, because like I said, you're going to want to be using the Floriani water soluble topper, and that when it gets wet will dissolve and it'll go away. So those are my tips for embroidery. Now let me talk about some of the other things here. So for non-embroidery, let's talk about the applique here next. So on the applique, I simply decided that I wanted to have a strip down the center that kind of showcased and accented the colors of the unicorn. And then because the unicorn's little horn is that silver metallic fabric, I thought it would be really fun to add some stars and some hearts that are also super metallic like the unicorn horn. So I was lucky, and I had this fun shimmery, shiny quilting fabric that's silver. And so I grabbed this strip, I simply folded the edges under, sewed it perfectly away, all the way down. I think it's about 6 inches from the side, from top to bottom. And then I did the usual applique way, where I added double-sided adhesive on the back of the fabric, cut out the shapes that I wanted, and I didn't use any pattern or anything. I just freehanded cutting the hearts and the stars. And then to put them onto the blanket, you're going to want to make sure that you sew down the fabric first, and then I used a pressing cloth, on top of them when I fused them to the blanket. Being that the blanket is made from polyester fibers, you want to make sure that you don't damage the blanket when you're doing the applique. So I turned down the heat on my iron just a little bit towards a medium, and then I fused them with a pressing cloth on top. And then when I was done, I simply did some free motion stitching around the stars and the hearts. You'll see I like to go a couple times around, but you could do just straight stitching and pivoting around these. You could put it in your, if your embroidery machine has the capabilities, you could actually do stitching around where you scan it in. It all depends upon your capabilities and what you can do at home. But this is one of those things that anyone that has a sewing machine can add to it to kind of spice it up and make it look a little bit more personalized. You could also, on top of this, you could go 1 or 2 steps further, add some initials. Wouldn't it be sweet to put the baby's stats when it was born, as far as, weight, date, time? All of that can be put on these just as easily with fabric or an embroidery machine. So like I said before, the only limitation is your own creativity as far as how far you want to embellish these. And if you wanted to do a regular blanket stitch, as you can see, I just chose to do straight stitch. I found that this type of fabric on the blanket tends to be a little stretchy, and I didn't want to add any more stabilizers to it, so I opted for just straight stitch. I would probably steer clear away from a blanket stitch or a zigzag, only because it might distort the fabric or the blanket, and I didn't want there to be any obvious distortion since it's a gift. So you can see on the back, this blanket, you can see where the stitching is, but it's not distorted in any way from what I did on the front. Okay, so that is the applique part, and isn't that fun? So once again, I wanted to showcase to you that it's not just for machine embroidery, that you can do other things with these blankets as well. Now for basic fabric, I basically took the size of the whole blanket, and then I subtracted about 4 inches so that I could add my accents here. And you can see it's now just a complete bunny blanket on this side, but on the back side, you'll see that it has that super, super soft blanket that came with the bunny. And I added just that little bit of accent there. So I love the way it looks, having a little border all the way around the quilt. And if you look straight on, it almost looks like there's a little fuzzy edge to it. So I absolutely love that. This is one of those things where you could really go crazy doing the personalization. You could do, a school colors, you could do a theme, you could do holidays. I think most people will probably be buying these as a baby gift type thing. But with that, you can really take whatever theme that baby's room is going to be, and you can find quilting fabric to accent it, and you can really just go to town with it. Lots of fun things you can do as far as customizing it with fabric and even the accent bits. So think outside the box. These are great gifts, not only as baby gifts, but they're perfect for children. Children that travel maybe on airplanes or in the car a lot. It's a perfect little gift because it's big enough to keep them warm in the car. They can use the animal as a little pillow, but it's just a fun little gift for them to have. Just think if you were going to Hawaii or something, it would be a perfect little thing for your children to have. You could do Hawaiian fabrics here, let them have the bunny for when they get on the airplane, and it's a perfect little souvenir that you have that's customized for your child. Super, super fun. They're also good for, us adult children that kind of never grew up. Think about what we could do with this. If someone's graduating from college, wouldn't it be fun to get their favorite team or their college fabrics, if they have it, and accent it this? So you can really take these gifts and go, all the way to kingdom come with your creativity and really create some wonderful gifts. And just so you know, safety standards. These animals, all of the huggers, exceed all US, Canadian, and European safety standards. So you do not have to worry about if you're doing this as a wonderful little gift for a new baby coming to town. It's completely safe, and just the only thing I would give to add to that is you want to steer clear of buttons putting it on there, only because of choking hazards when the child gets older. So great gifts and endless possibilities for creativity. And let me show you some more. Okay, so one thing I forgot to tell you. When you're doing the fabric on top of the blanket, don't forget to use your walking foot. That's going to sandwich the blanket and the fabrics so that they go through the feed dogs at the same time, and it'll eliminate any issues that you'll have with stitching. So don't forget to use your walking foot. It will be your best friend for that. And also, one other thing that I forgot to mention, I was a child that my name was never spelled to what the norms were. So in the 70s, everyone had those cute little license plates with their name that they put on their bike. I never had one. The magnets, I can go on and on and on about the things that I didn't have. The great thing about these is you can customize them and fix that. You can put whatever you want and correctly spell the gift for what you're going to customize for your friend or your the child or whatever it may be. So it's a great thing to be able to customize either with machine embroidery. You could actually hand embroidery too, but I love that about that. So love these. And this is the little dog once again, and we have the bunny with the blanket that I did, and I just added fabrics. We have the little lamb, very sweet. And the unicorn with this wonderful little horn. Isn't she adorable? And don't forget the bear that I did the machine embroidery on. Love these gifts. And don't forget to go to moors-sew.com, and you can also click on the link in the description where you can purchase any of these animals as well as the stabilizers and other items that you will need to complete this wonderful customizable product. So huggers from Embroidery Buddies, they're going to be so much fun, and they're going to give you a lot of stuff to do. I hope you have a great day. Everyone be safe out there. Bye-bye.